Let's call to order the Avon Town Council meeting for March 9th, 2023. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Julie, would you mind taking a roll call, please?
Greg Zuzen. Steve Eisenbarth.
Present.
Robert Pope.
Present.
Tim Roberts.
Present.
Don Loudon.
Present.
First item on the agenda is our consent agenda, which includes the March 9th check register and approval of minutes from our February 23rd meeting. Any questions or comments?
I don't have any comments. Anybody? All right. I'll make a motion that we accept them as presented. I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Julie, would you take a roll call vote, please?
Don Loudon.
4.
Tim Roberts.
4.
Robert Pope.
4.
Steve Eisenbarth.
4.
Next item is the first of two public comment opportunities. You may comment on items on the agenda that are not a public hearing. Please come forward to the microphone, state your name and address, and limit your time to 3 minutes. Nobody's sitting in the front row either. Definitely weren't coming. We'll close that section of public comment, move on to department updates. Who's rushing up here?
Steve Moore, Public Works Director. Good evening. 100 South reconstruction last Friday was a bit of a challenge. I don't know if everybody knew about the flooding that occurred, but 100 South on the west approach to Ronald Reagan was flooded across all of the lanes. Shout out to Keaton for he helped me to take down the rock dam that was blocking the water. And then Brett from United Consulting came out and helped me later on. And then some unknown person from Reith Riley came back later on. And by 8 o'clock at night, we had it all taken care of. So that was a challenge, but we got it. But other projects, Raceway Roundabout, design continues. Cross sections and pavement markings are now complete. Utility coordination is ongoing. We're going to have some potholing done soon to finalize that design. Our consultant, Etika, is coordinating with Indy DPW and Hendricks County for drainage. Design is complete on the Ronald Reagan 1050 improvements, we'll call it. Basically changing, the geometry so that we're limiting access. Right now we have it with the barricades and barrels. It's going to be with concrete. So we're going to add that to our paving project as a change order, and so that's going to be done hopefully in the next several months. 900 East at Angelina Way, the roundabout design continues. We're wrapping up a more detailed plan set that I'm going to get tomorrow by the end of business so I can review it. And then we're going to have a field check on March 29. So that's progressing. Dan Jones widening project, the phase 1 from CSX to 100 South. They're doing some clearing now. They're going to be grinding some more stumps. They're relocating some of the utilities. I saw that Miller Pipeline's out there yet, putting in the new gas line. So that's progressing. Let's see, Dan Jones phase 2. We're close to closing out the right-of-way process for that. Final tracings are coming here next month. So we're still on track for a letting in October. Stormwater utility, we're doing drainage projects. We're continuously finding issues and resolving them as fast as we can. See, pothole patching, Grady Brothers was out today, and so we were caught up with potholes as of about 2 o'clock, and so we probably are behind again already. It happens. Traffic sign replacement, we got a new tool today. It's a tool that helps us to install threads inside of poles so that we can attach our signs, because we had some signs that blew off some of the school zone flashers. And we couldn't put them on correctly. We tried a whole bunch of different ways, but we finally found a tool with a drop insert that would basically act as a rivet mandrel. And so Keaton put up those signs today, and we're back to normal there. Staff training, we got some more traffic signal training for Keaton and Keaton and Drew, and I think Betsy went too. So we got some signal training done, and I think that's where we're at. Oh, and we arranged for flagger training. Shelby, do you remember what date that flagger training was?
Last week of March.
Yeah, so last week in March, we're going to do flagger training for Public Works and Parks Department. So the 28th, yeah. So that way, the people that are flagging people for events will actually be certified. So that's all I got.
Thanks, Steve.
Good evening, Council. Jared Wade, Communications Director for the town of Avon. Just a few things. One, the website is now officially migrated over to a .gov domain. We have moved from avongov.org, the second love of Ryan's life. It's moved from avongov.org to avonindiana.gov. So if you go to avonorg.gov now, you will be redirected. It's going to be a seamless process. All of our links will continue to work. If you click on a hyperlink that was released last year, it's still going to work now. No worries, no problems on that. With that, and to kind of tail with what Steve was talking about with the Dan Jones project, I'm working with Steve and with Ryan. We've actually designed a page on our website now, and you can access that from avonindiana.gov/Dan Jones. And that page is going to be a center information hub for all things Dan Jones. It's broken down by phase. So if you are interested in finding out more about what each phase contains, it's going to contain maps and pictures and updates. So whenever Steve gives me an update, we're going to be able to get that out to the community. So if there's anybody in the community that wants to know what the heck is going on, avonindiana.gov/Dan Jones. We've got some large signs that are going to be put out there as well. And we're going to keep that page updated and moving along as long as Dan Jones is happening, which I believe is, at least for the foreseeable, 4 or 5 years, somewhere in that range. 3 to 5 years. So that's hopefully a help for the community. And then lastly, the only thing I wanted to talk about was Angel and myself were invited to participate in a police debriefing. This is something that neither one of us had been a part of before. Deputy Chief Nugent actually did this debrief over the school bus accident that happened a year ago, almost to the day of when the debrief happened. I don't want to go into too many details because I don't know if Sean's planning on talking about that, but Deputy Chief Nugent did a fantastic job, not only going through the details, but also bringing different entities together. Parts of the school were there. I know that the officers were there, communications people were there, and it really kind of re-sparked a conversation between myself and Kevin Carr, who is the communications coordinator for the school, about how can we plan better for if something like that happens? How can the town support the school and vice versa? How can we use what areas we have as effectively as possible? So we're already working on some plans for having continual training to make sure that we have procedures and policies in place. That way we're not surprised by something like this. This is just another element that I appreciate about the school and Kevin specifically being willing to be open and transparent and talk to me about things that are happening. So I appreciate it. It's a shout out to Kevin, but it's also a shout out to Brian Nugent for having that debrief. But that's really all I had. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Question for you. The Dan Jones page on our site, will that include information from the county for the bridge? That separate projects, I've got to believe that information will be just as important and pertinent to the residents as well.
As of right now, I have phase 1 through 4 with the information that has been provided to me. Phase 5 is kind of an unknown area right now. The page is moldable enough that if we so wish to add something specific about that bridge and we want to just link that to somewhere that Hendricks County is making updates, I'm happy to work with Hendricks County because having one place where we can have that information for our residents and the businesses is significantly more advantageous than trying to send them to multiple different places. But right now, I don't think we have that on our website. Well, I know we don't have it on our website, but I'm happy to talk with Ryan and find out if that's a direction that he would like for me to go.
Sure, Robert, I just got the plans from the county today for the bridge if you're interested.
The goal still is this year, begin construction?
I don't have dates, I just got the plans.
Roger. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, Jared.
Good evening, Shelby Marshall, Parks Director for the town of Avon. I have been working with Context to develop site plans for Summerlot, Burnett, and Winton Meadows Parks. I'm working on with Ryan prioritizing development for a park improvement bond that hopefully we will be doing later this year, early next year. I want to shout out to my maintenance team. On February 22nd, a tree fell on the fence on the east side of Sycamore Trail down here at the little bridge. They went out instantly, cleaned up the debris, called a fence repair company. ICR came and repaired it. They actually did it today. Fantastic company to work with. So shout out to them and thank them for doing such a great job, as well as my maintenance team. And then our tree sale begins April 1st. So if you need trees, buy your tree from our tree sale. Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Shelby.
Good evening, Sean Stoops, Chief of Police for the Avon Police Department. Thank you. So in your monthly report there, you will see that our calls for service for February were slightly increased. I don't think that that's anything to be alarmed. Actually, I think it's actually a sign of our self-initiated, proactive plans that we have in place that we've received grant money for have begun, and we've actually started to do more proactive traffic enforcement. And I think you'll also see, if you look down at traffic stops, on average, we do about 300 and some traffic stops a month, and you'll see that that average, or that number went up to over 500. So I think those two things together are showing that those calls for service are showing that our proactive law enforcement initiatives are working. And so then when we look at some of the other metrics, just a snapshot of January and February, we were able to see that our property crimes and our crimes against persons saw a significant decrease from January to February. And then it also appears to have a reduction on our property damage accidents as well. And then we also saw an increase in our impaired driving arrest that nearly doubled. So we have a lot more officers out there doing more with our grant money that we've received to do these initiatives. And I think we're starting to see those results. I'm not going to ask you to get too excited about it right now because this is just a 1 month snapshot, but I think we're already starting to see some very positive results that could even continue on through the rest of the year, we're hoping. So several of our supervisors and administrators completed the Gallagher Westfall Group Leadership Series. This was an 8-hour course spread out over several months that focused on developing our leaders and our supervisors skills to improve leading themselves, leading others, coaching and leading within our organization. We want to really thank Ryan and his team for helping put together the training curriculum, not just for the police department, but for the entire town staff. And it was good to see that we had everybody, a little bit of everyone from each department within the town there, learning in a consistent manner on how to lead and manage all of our other team members here on staff. So thank you to everyone that participated in that. We received our first reimbursement from the Indiana Crime Guns Task Force, which is to the tune of about $109,000. That money is intended to offset the cost of salaries and overtime for that position, as well as the equipment and software that investigations use for the cell phone forensics that we use for our everyday investigations, as well as the Crime Gun Task Force investigations that we assist with. Our agency's instructors and some of the members of our department participated in active shooter training with our partners at Hendricks Regional Health last month. This was spanned over a few days. This training was meant to assist and help train our officers, but it was also initiated by HRH's staff to help train and focus their attention on the proper way to respond in the event of a tragic event like that, and also how to respond and provide emergency health services in an unfortunate situation like that as well. This collaboration will help. It helps build those relationships with those other entities in our community, and it also creates a more efficient response should we ever experience an unfortunate tragedy like that in our community. One of the numbers that I wanted to bring your attention to in the statistics there for the month, there was a substantial number of child abuse neglect reports that were reported to us. I am happy to report that all but one of those cases were closed out and either found to be unfounded, or they were just there was no further investigation required because there just wasn't any information there to show that abuse or neglect really took place. So while the report number is around 30, only one of those cases actually require additional follow-up that could come to fruition to be an actual criminal case. Our K-9 officers were pretty busy this last month. They had 16 deployments. They made 9 arrests, did several vehicle searches. They found over 10 different, and in those cases, they found over 10 different narcotics in those cases that produced arrests, and they participated in over 51 training hours. So as usual, they were pretty busy as well. And with our Crime Guns Task Force, Detective High, once again, their team is over there just really kind of keeping that element away from here as best as they possibly can by doing what they do. And they've been able to seize up to date over 70 firearms. All of those firearms have been entered into NIBIN. They have over 222 different entries for NIBIN leads that are tying those weapons that they took to other cases, not just in Marion County, but throughout the state and other areas. So we applaud their efforts and what they're doing, and thank them for all of their efforts. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Got one for you, Sean. I know previously our department was called on rather frequently for our cell phone forensic kind of expertise. Is that still the case, still ongoing, that we're kind of Detective Chapman is kind of the guru here regionally?
It's not as much as it used to be because other agencies are starting to catch up now. So they're starting to purchase the software, the training, and all of the computer hardware that it takes to run those forensics. It's kind of balancing out though, because as they are starting to come aboard and do their own, we're starting to see an increase because of awareness, really. Our officers are more aware, our detectives are more aware. So when they make an arrest or conduct a criminal investigation, they're more apt to take that device so that it can be analyzed for further investigation and get additional evidence. So between the increase in awareness, the increase in cases, and then the reason we were able to get this reimbursement from the Crime Guns Task Force is because they're so overloaded with digital forensics that they're outsourcing that now to members of the team. And since we're a member of that team and we're assisting with those forensic analysis, they've offered to flip the bill for some of those services and software and hardware that we purchased to the tune of over $30,000. So it's been a great partnership with them, and we hope to keep it going.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. That's it. Okay, I'm not forgetting Jared this time. All right. Moving on, next item, council comment and liaison reports. We'll start with you, Ms. Loudon.
Not too much the last 2 weeks. February 20th attended the chamber luncheon. At that time, I think her name, but the lady from the Avon Community School spoke, and it was
Kelly
regarding,
Radke.
it was regarding the new facility that Avon is going to implement, the Avon Community Schools is going to implement, that is similar to the Harris Academy that people are aware of in Brownsburg. Initially, it'll start off with 120 children. So it'll be a great asset for the community. We're going to have our students here locally as opposed to sending them there.
Mr. Roberts?
I attended the same luncheon that Ms. Loudon attended. It was interesting information that Mrs. Rodkey presented at that luncheon. The interesting fact is find out their partnership with the Simon Youth Academy and to combine that all in what they're doing with the current renovations going on at the admin building.
And they do still plan to open that
Yes.
They do.
for the next school year,
They do.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, they're on track for August, I believe they
Yeah.
said to be completed. And next police merit board meeting's coming up on Monday.
Mr. Eisenbarth?
Well, Robert and I, last night, I guess it was, we attended the, Rockville Road is going to be expanded in year 2025 to the east of Raceway, all the way out to 465. So it was a public meeting by NDOT. And it was interesting because hearing the local residents there kind of, I wanted to hear how their, issues were similar or different from ours. And then also I wanted to put a written statement out to NDOT saying that I wanted to make sure that they have an incident response team, that they can respond quickly and turn things around during accidents, and that they would keep the pavement markings fresh during the maintenance. That's very important. So that was good, and I know you may have some other comments on that, but it was good to see lots of people out there on that. I've talked with our consultant for the sidewalk master plan for the purpose of discussing engineering priorities of connections. In other words, where we see missing links on our sidewalks, I'd like to see the consultant make a comment to staff of here's where we see some improvements that could happen, and the dollars would be the best one used. I used one example of Ronald Reagan at 36 on the southwest corner. I said, here we built this sidewalk. We had the bridge on CSX that we were prohibited from putting sidewalk originally on there because of the stimulus funds, and then we put that, and then the district said, well, you're going to put a sidewalk end sign there, kind of throw it right at us. So I said, well, why don't we just run the sidewalk to the west and go over to Target and have that? And if we have to put railing up to protect people and keep them away from 36, so be it. But let's do those nodes. Let's make those connections and not just have a end of sidewalk sign that kind of throws it in the person's face, So anyway, she appreciated that, and that was good. Met with Marcia Stone with the airport about the AeroVision, and yes, they have not met last year, and yes, it doesn't look like we may not have a meeting this year. I was pushing, trying to see if we could do that. I said, we have a lot of things to talk about, but so that didn't meet, but it was fun talking with her. Let's see, other than that, road school is coming up this week. I know Ryan hears this from me all the time, but I would be glad to get with staff on schedules and see if they want to go to certain sessions. I think, Steve Moore, you're going to be there, right? Yes. So I'll get with you. I'm going to be there Wednesday, and I highlighted all the classes for then, and then Tuesday I can't go. So maybe I might ask you or whoever's going to be there on Tuesday, see if you can get some syllabuses or something like that. Met with Avon Schools, Dr. Sullivan, about the youth assistance program. Staff or council knows that I'm looking into that because I think it's a big bang for the buck of what we could do by providing that. But it's just ongoing discussions is all that is. The other thing, a couple things I wanted to maybe give a plug for Jared on the web. One thing I got reminded about, I think when you were going through a report, it reminded me, yes, there's some signs that have been down that I never have posted on the web, and shame on me. I say this for the public, that if anyone wants to post, if their potholes are being signs, we have a very good website where you could put that on there.
And there's an app for that.
There's an app for that. That's
have an app
right.
for it now.
There's an app for that. So I'm going to do that because I have one. I don't need to profile it here. But, drainage and all kinds of things that we can cover on that. That's enough for me. Sorry.
No worries. The US 36 widening project, I think obviously there was remonstrance. But one thing that I took away that I thought was they have very little additional right of way that they need to require. I want to say it was less than a total less than an acre. Total.
Yeah, on that, and then they're only going to expand it 1 foot.
Yeah. That's only going to be an 85-foot wide. Yeah. So the only major concern I think we might have is from a public safety, from police officers. There will be no shoulder. It will be gutter and curb, and that's it. But again, the key that's really interesting that I thought was almost miraculous was the minuscule amount of right of way that they're going to be required. So the project is comparatively going to be really cheap. I had the pleasure of attending the Project Angel Father-Daughter Dance fundraiser last weekend. If no one's aware of it, just a great event. Helps a very necessary non-for-profit here in the community. And I had the pleasure to catch up with Aaron a little bit. He seems to be doing well, taking his time. And then coming up, another shout out to another great organization, Men in Read Elementary School Reading Event is a week from today. So, gentlemen, we are still needing some readers for some of our Avon schools. That's it for me. Moving on, next item on the agenda, new business, the 2023-2024 road salt commitment. Steve or Brian?
I'll go ahead and handle it, and if Steve wants to jump in, he can. This is every year, we do bid our salt through the statewide purchasing program. It has saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years. It's actually been a fantastic program. Basically, all the communities in the state go together and the state does a singular bid then for everybody. So again, the guide is that when you're buying in quantity, you can drive down that cost. And so NDOT does kind of break it down into different districts, but then they do bid it by district. It is the cost of the salt is delivered to our facility, so that's built in. Again, it's been great for us. Worked out great. As I reported in the memo, the salt storage facility has about 1,200 tons in it. We do have 900 tons still to purchase yet this year. So that 900 tons mixed with about 300 tons puts us at about 2,500 tons. The facility holds 2,800 to 3,000 tons. Typically what we try to do, we try to keep our commitment level about as even as possible so we don't have big up and downs from year to year in terms of our salt order. And you can see in there, I did provide a copy to you guys. It has come down what we've done a little bit, our salt commitment, just because we've had some more mild winters. But even like this year's been a pretty mild winter and we've used 1,200 tons already this year. So my guess is by the end of the year, we'll use about 1,500 tons. So that's kind of our goal, is to basically replenish whatever we use every year. And so it is our recommendation to purchase 1,500 tons of salt. The commitment when we make it means we have to buy at least 80% of it. And it also gives us the option to buy up to 120%. So it does give us some flexibility. We are buying the treated road salt, which we've found works much longer, works to lower temperatures, and actually has less scatter. It also has less environmental impact than salt. It is slightly more expensive. But again, I think based on the fact that we're using it, we're saving money. We're not having to reapply as frequently, and we're not losing as much material. So that is our recommendation, to buy 1,500 tons of treated salt through the statewide purchasing program. And Steve and I are happy to answer any questions.
Do we have an estimate on cost?
About $135,000 based on what we paid last year.
Right, so
That's we're assuming, because we obviously don't know what the bid is. And we do budget $400,000 a year for snow removal, and that cost is part of what we budget.
Regardless of the cost, we still need to approve the 1,500.
Yes. Yep.
That's the 100% commitment.
That's the 100% commitment. Yep.
Any
Makes
other
sense.
questions?
No, it's good. Do you want a motion?
Yep.
Make a motion that we accept staff's recommendation for the commitment to purchase 1,500 tons of treated salt through the statewide salt program purchasing for the approximate amount of $135,000.
I'll second. Julie, would you mind taking a roll call vote, please?
Don Loudon,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Steve Eisenbarth,
4.
Tim Roberts,
4.
Next item on the agenda, award quote for electrical service. You again, Ryan?
Yeah, I'll handle it if Steve may pop in. Steve's done all the hard work on this, and Shelby. Actually, kudos to Shelby and Steve on this, and that they kind of came up with this concept that will help save us some money when we eventually develop the park, and also kind of provide us a base for where we're going to put our field office. We're basically going to turn the entrance of the Burnett Park, use that as our entrance to the field office, and so they're going to put gravel down, which can then be the foundation of our parking lot eventually when we build one. And then we also came up with the idea, typically they would just do temporary power to the field office. So they basically just hang it off a power pole and run it over to whatever we're doing. But since we know that we eventually want to put something there that's going to need permanent power, we'd like to spend a little bit of extra money to get that permanent power extended now. So this is a quote. ERMCO has kind of they do all of our street light maintenance. They're kind of our go-to contractor. This is something we need to get in motion relatively quickly, so we appreciate that they're able to get out and do it. They've said in the quote they accomplished the work within 2 weeks of approval, so it's here on your agenda, and it's Shelby, Steve's, and my recommendation. You guys approve it. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff?
So, I mean, will this be placed in a specific location? How do we already know where you're going to place the building?
Come up to the mic,
answer it, but
please.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I mean, we do have the location of the building and the parking lot cited. It's conceptually, and so we're running it to a spot. We've coordinated that with Context, who's doing the actual design for the park. And so we're coordinating it and we're putting it, it may not be in the exact spot, but this is conduit. And so if ultimately when we move the permanent power or we put it on the side of a building, it's going to be in the general vicinity, but we're putting it in conduit versus just running it in the air that eventually it'd just be wasted.
Okay.
Did I answer that okay?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I got the coordinates today.
Right.
So we give it to the surveyor, they can locate it.
Okay.
Any further questions? If not, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the ERMCO quote for the Town of Avon Kingwood Drive pole project as presented.
Second.
Mitchell, do you care that it does not include the quote amount? He did include as presented, which is included in there. We've had this sort of battle before. I just want to make sure we're kosher.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Roger. We do have a motion with a second. Julie, would you take a roll call vote, please?
Tim Roberts,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Steve Eisenbarth,
4.
Don Loudon.
4.
Next item on the agenda, legal counsel report. Mr. Ray.
I have nothing for you tonight. Thank you.
All right. Next item is the second of 2 public comment opportunities. You may comment on items on the agenda that are not a part of a public hearing. Please come forward to the microphone, state your name and address, and limit your time to 3 minutes.
Good evening. This is my first time ever doing a public
Can you make sure that mic's on, the green light?
Yeah.
Hit the button right there. Thank you.
I'm learning as I go. My name is Jason Graham. I'm with Lamar Advertising. We are at 5711 West Minnesota Street, Indianapolis, 46241. I just came here to introduce myself. My real estate manager, Marianne McCallop. We do have a application for a variance that we're going to be going in front of the BZA. And I thought it would be best to kind of put a name with the company and the business that's doing that. Our company's been around for 130 years. I've been with Lamar for 21 years. And what we desire to do is change the face of the board that's currently existing to digital technology. We do not want to change the size of the board, the height of the board, nothing about the board except for the actual face. We would conform with all of NDOT regulations. We have had the opportunity to meet with Danny Brock, the fire chief, and talk about some commitments that we can make with them in order to help their department. We've met with Kevin Carr with the school district. These are all ways that we're trying to partner with this new technology that we're going to have. And we also, on a national level, we partner with Amber Alerts, Silver Alerts, Crime Stoppers, U.S. Marshal Service, as well as obviously selling to local non-commercial and commercial businesses. So I just wanted to let you guys know who we were. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no rush, we'll close that second public comment opportunity. Council comment? Nope. Nope.
I do have
Yes, sir.
one. I would like to thank the Department of Public Works for taking care of the corner of Avon Parkway and Route 36, the flooding area there. They took care of that. So I would like to thank Steve and his department.
And I want to thank our police department for the canine stats, because here we have listed each dog and what they did. And so you've got not just narcotics, you've got sniffing out the burglary suspect going out and doing that. So I think that's good. It takes risk off the officer when the dog can be deployed. So thank you.
Council calendar. Ryan.
Real easy. Next meeting, March 23rd, 7 PM.
No.
I
no
know
work
that
session.
is spring break, so please make sure you check your calendars. If for some reason we're not gonna have a quorum, please let us know.
You will not be here. I'll make sure I'll check with the rest of the council, make sure we'll at least have a quorum. So.
Yep.
Nothing yet. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.